TPP is a trade and globalization agreement between 12 countries. And even after negotiations are finished, more countries can join.
From my point of view, China better not join the TPP because, first of all, several major requirements from TPP are not practical in China. For instance, in terms of internet freedom, the TPP promotes no restriction on the outside message, but China is currently under the social and economic transition, whereas social contradiction is increasingly apparent. So China needs the necessary restrictive measure on the new media like the internet to maintain the stable environment for development. Therefore, TPP is not feasible in China.
Yes, admittedly, some of industries in China are less mature compared to the high standard in TPP. However, China is now undergoing a broad and deep structural transformation for its domestic market. And the TPP will definitely be an external forces to accelerate this kind of transformation. For example, the rules for the state-owned enterprises among the TPP members will be a guide for China's own SOEs to build their strategic transformation. And so joining the TPP will definitely bring benefits to China.
Well, even though China determined to ease the restriction and try to get qualified for TPP standard, it would require many structural reforms, which are definitely not short-term projects. As anticipated, TPP negotiation will come to its closure within 1 to 2 years. However, China needs at least 3 to 5 years to conduct the reforms and collect their effects. And in reality, the time even will be longer. So I'm afraid to say China will have to miss the TPP negotiation.
Actually, I think China does not need to worry too much about this problem because the current domestic condition of the 12 existing members are largely different from each other. And in some member countries, such as Peru, the foundation of the market is much weaker than China. Therefore, the final results of the negotiation will be a compromise of all the member countries. Furthermore, joining TPP earlier can give China the opportunity to become the policymaker in order to negotiate the rules in favor of China.
Well, my last point is TPP is not very necessary for China. By far, China has reached many bilateral trade agreements with Pacific countries like Chile, Peru, and South Korea. And as a participant of ASEAN, China has already established cooperation relationship with these countries in this region. Therefore, TPP may overlap with this agreement and probably not make a significant influence on China even after the joining.
But we must seriously think about the loss from trade diversion if China is being left out. China is the pivot for the trade in Trans-Pacific area. A lot of intermediate products from other Asian countries are manufactured in China, and then they are exported to US or Europe. If TPP is agreed without China, the exported intermediate products to China will be largely cut or stopped. This will heavily hurt China's income from their trade.
Two significant benefits for China if China joins the TPP. China will benefit a sharp reduction in tariffs and non-tariff barriers on goods and services sold to other TPP member countries, which will boost China's growth potential by expanding external demand. In this way, the TPP will become a more important driver for global free trade and investment than the WTO. TPP will also provide China with a commitment device for domestic deregulation, which will greatly enhance China's long-term growth potential by permitting the private sector to enter industry previously dominated by SOEs. The weighted average real GDP growth rate for the TPP nations in 2012 was 3.7%, significantly higher than the world total of 2.2%. If China joins the TPP, it will result in a free trade area covering over 50% of global GDP. Will China lose rather than win in the TPP trade? In this graph, China will likely benefit from trade due to TPP entry include apparel, textile, and electronics for 4 to 8%, while the raw materials and auto sectors will likely lose for 1 to 3%. So China can still enjoy more benefits than advantages from TPP trade. Join the TPP, China will enjoy a larger trade value. China is running a trade deficit against most countries in TPP as a result of its demand for resources from Australia, Peru, and New Zealand, as well as its import from manufactured products from Japan and Korea. Such a deficit was more than offset by the large trade surplus against the US, which resulted in a total Chinese trade balance of more than $80 billion with TPP countries in 2012. Overall, the tariff due to the TPP entry will boost China's real exports by 9.5% and increase real imports by 14%. On the domestic economy, it will increase real consumption by 2.9% and push up real investment by 2.5%.
When I was in China after Bali, we had discussions of TPP, RCEP, and so on. I did not hear any Chinese official tell me that we are committed to join, we want to join, we've decided to join. I haven't seen that. But clearly, compared especially to a year ago, when the attitude was somewhat more negative, this is a containment of China, this is a way meant to exclude China, a lot of talk like that. I didn't hear that at all on this trip. It was say, we want to know more about TPP, we want to know more about how we're going in RCEP, but TPP is, of course, 2013, RCEP is 2015, but there was a great curiosity and great interest in finding out more on this visit.
So what do you think China should do before getting into the TPP?
I believe that Shanghai Free Trade Zone can act as a pilot program for TPP in China. This new window shares some similar features with the TPP, such as a negative-list approach on market access or intellectual property protection. Shanghai Free Trade Zone will help China to further open up, push forward Chinese economic reforms, and help a smoother transition to an economy with a higher degree of openness and consistency with international norms.
If China joins the TPP, there will be a big impact on different industries in Vietnam. For example, the textile industry. In Vietnam, the textile industry imports a lot of raw materials from China. So if China joins the TPP, the raw material cost for the textile industries will be lower because of the low barrier of trade. However, at the same time, China is gonna come in the market and also compete with the textile industry in Vietnam. So it has kind of an opposite effects on the industry.
I think it's very good that China has decided to join the TPP. I think one of the main problems between U.S.-China relations is protectionism, in particular with the U.S., and then retaliation in China. And I think it's very important that by joining such a trade union, these protectionist barriers will be eventually, hopefully, removed, and therefore lead to freer trade globally, lower prices globally, and overall higher welfare for everyone.